Hi, I am Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. I have with me retired Brigadier Niladri Shankar Mukherjee. He is the Secretary and Executive Director of Kolkata-based think tank CENERS-K. We will discuss the wider significance of Operation Sindoor, India's missile attack on terror hideouts in Pakistan. Welcome, sir.
Thank
Sir,
you.
as a war veteran and as a military strategist, how do you look at the strategic message part? I'm just, for your understanding, I'm just giving you, and for audience, I'm giving a clue. It all began, over the years, India was resisting, India was managing the areas within its territories. It was not going out. India is not known as an aggressor. We have never taken an inch of land. Even though we had opportunities to do in 1965, we did not. That said, we started with surgical strikes. It began quite some time ago. It came in the literature this decade, earlier this decade, over the last 10 years. Then a paradigm shift came in Balakot, where Indian Air Force flew to destroy some hideouts, to bomb some hideouts in nearly 200 kilometers inside Pakistan. Pakistan also counterattacked, and it stopped there. It was not escalated. The latest one is most significant. We have launched 24 missile attacks at 9 locations in both Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and also the mainland Pakistan. So, do we see how do you see what is the wider message of Operation Sindoor? Over to you, sir.
Thank you to you and to your viewers. First, let me just go back a little and explain to you that when we did surgical strike, it was the first time India took it upon itself to react across the line of control and send Pakistan a message. But at the same time, when the surgical strike was being planned, there was amongst the military apparatus in the country, including the Prime Minister, that if the surgical strike should go wrong and we suffer casualties, much in number, of the troops that have been deployed to undertake that surgical strikes, it will work both ways. One, we might be, not able to face the international opinion of a very blundering kind of a response that we had done. And secondly, we might not also be sure of whether we have aimed and achieved our objective. That was one. Although it was a successful operation, and much credit goes to the armed forces for doing that. Post which, again, another terror strike was committed by Pakistan, which apparently gave us a clear indication that this nation is not going to be deterred by our responses unless we hit the deep state and the Pakistan armed forces. Therefore, they again resorted to another terrorist attack, to which we did a Balakot. Now, Balakot was definitely an escalation. It was also sending a message to Pakistan that, look, we can now use, apart from the armed forces on the ground, we can use our air force to strike deep inside Pakistan. But at the same time, as is usual with Pakistan, it kept on saying that what India has hit is a couple of trees and a couple of crows, and they were able to take some foreign correspondents there, also tell the entire world that nothing has happened. And we, for our domestic audience, kept mentioning that we had killed over 250 militants, giving evidences of people who were there on mobile sets, and therefore that got shut down subsequently. But there were very many who within the country who did not sort of understand this entire thing, and unless they saw the visual results, this was also possibly felt that the retribution, the kind that the domestic audience required, was not done. Again, this did not deter Pakistan at all. Giving a gap of a few years, it again went and killed a few people where a tunnel is being constructed, and small incidents of singling out Hindus and informers in J&K in twos and threes continue. And then came Pahalgam. Pahalgam was incensed the Indian public. It was a brutal assault where, in point blank range, males were singled out in front of their children, in front of their mothers and fathers, in front of their wives, asked for their religious identity, and shot dead. It incensed everybody in the country, including sizable sections of the Muslim community. And therefore, this was an opportunity where the political dispensation of the day sensed that the international opinion also was towards supporting India's every reaction that India would like to take. But India, you will notice, Mr. Bose, has become a very mature nation. India knows that immediately going in for retribution of the kind that the domestic audience is not the correct thing to do. That this needs a little deliberation, and the escalatory ladder, we have overturned this entire thing on Pakistan. Look at how beautifully it was managed. The first response was diplomatic, where we suspended the IWT. Now, Pakistan
that was a very
cannot
hard
react.
measure. That was a
It
very
was a very
hard
hard
measure.
measure. And not only withstanding that, the holding in abeyance does not mean the water has stopped. Water continues to flow into Pakistan. But the message has been sent across that we will not send them data, we will regulate the flow, we will try and construct and desilt our dams for more storage, we will reduce the water flow that is going into your area from even the three rivers which are yours. And on the other side, the rivers which had been in the IWT given to us, we are now going to make sure that not a drop goes there to your side. And amongst the three canals will be formed to divert the waters henceforth, which might take time.
If I can add here, the wider significance of IWT, Indus Water Treaty, I mean, scrapping or suspending it, is India has also told the international community, particularly in the West, I'm talking about here, that they must act against Pakistan on terror, or India will take it in its own hand, because this treaty was mediated by World Bank. That was the significance. It was not a bilateral thing. It was a trilateral thing. So India, by suspending it, India, in my understanding, India sent out a strong signal to the international community, or it sent out a signal that the international community is now with India because the international community did not react on this. Over to you, sir.
I agree with you, but look at this, the way the timing has been done and the way it has been absolutely brought forward. We are technically very correct. We have held it in abeyance. The water flow has not stopped. We have not said after this what will happen. Apart from the other three rivers, we are in no mood to share those waters with them. But at the moment, our dams are shallow, and therefore the storage capacity is only of 2-3 days. We need to let the waters flow for electricity to be generated. So, moment we do that and electricity is generated, the water will flow into Pakistan. But that we will have to destill, raise the storage of the other three rivers which belong to us,
that is a long-term
and develop
thing.
canals.
That is a long-term thing. Yeah.
It will take time. Then we have taken a number of diplomatic steps to squeeze Pakistan economically, not allowing their ships to come and berth in our ports. Trade has been stopped. Of other actions have been taken to make sure Pakistan understands that as far as India is concerned, apart from the 30 people which are there in the embassy there, we don't think Pakistan exists for us. Next, we come now to the kinetic action that was the call of the day by the entire nation.
Right.
Now, we know that we cannot ignore the fact that it is a rogue nation, and that they have mullahs at the top. The general is a madrasa product, even though he's a sword of honor. And the fact that it is a nuclear power with tactical nukes that it has developed. A rogue nation, which we have to factor in that the man is a bad man. He can do anything. Even that factor, although there is space enough below the nuclear threshold to do a number of steps. In fact, somebody was mentioning the other day, the doctrine, there are 47 layers of escalation that the armed forces normally look at. And therefore, we knew that even if the nuclear blackmail that the Pakistan continues to state, there is many things that the Indians can do. And one which you saw is what we did this time. You had asked a specific question. Is there a way that the Indian nation responds to the terror acts? I'm totally in agreement with you. You will notice that this time, although the targets have been kept also as terrorist targets, the spread is through completely from POK to the mainland of Pakistan. Notwithstanding that, we have turned the scales on Pakistan by now allowing Pakistan to escalate the escalatory ladder. We have told the international community that, look, we have not hit a military target. We have made sure that the collateral damage to the civilians is absolutely minimal. We have struck at their known, absolutely with evidence, the known terrorist camps where
I was amazed by the presentation jointly by
absolutely,
the
absolutely,
Ministry of External Affairs and the forces. It was an
absolutely,
outstanding presentation. It was a complete dossier to the world to see the terror industry in Pakistan.
absolutely. And therefore, now we know that Pakistan, because of the way they are structured, their ideology, their entire response will have to be there. If Pakistan today or tomorrow hit military targets, we are absolutely confident that the Indian nation will respond absolutely decisively and absolutely they have already started. In Punch, they have killed 8 civilians and 30 more are injured. Even now, the guns are booming in Uri, and they will consider they will, do immense damage to the civilians. The entire Uri village has been evacuated. We anticipated all that. Our guns are also booming. At night, when we did this 9 strikes, I must inform you, Mr. Bose, and much will come out now over the evening of this day today. We have even attacked posts in POK, and massive damage has been done to 2 or 3 posts there. Don't be surprised if more happens along the way. That the army not only responds by artillery across the LOC, but there might be physical assaults also to take in a little bit of their land and make sure that the LOC no longer remains the way the LOC is now being seen. That having been said, I would like to explain, Mr. Bose, once again and go back to the feeling that India's response definitely has changed. From the surgical strikes in Balakot, our responsibility escalated ladder, we have thrown back the ball into the court of Pakistan. If Pakistan today or tomorrow hit military targets, we are at liberty to tell the world, and we are at liberty to also take out their military targets. Our ships are absolutely poised and ready. Our entire Air Force, on the guise of doing their exercises, are absolutely ready, and so are the armed forces. And without having called a general mobilization, the country has mobilized. I know most of my colleagues have been talking that they are absolutely on not only high alert, most of the plans have been put into place. And apart from that, you will understand the way methodically this dispensation is holding meetings, calling for the Home Department to take the nodal agency for calling civil defense. It is all there, and we are ready to even face along the escalatory the ladder. Having been said, I think now the onus is on Pakistan, and immense pressure is coming on Pakistan, not only from the international community, but from the United Nations, that look, you did something which was very wrong in Pahalgaon, notwithstanding your all the evidence that you are trying to present and the lies that you are telling the world that you are not the ones who have perpetuated this. But the very fact is that India has done this, and it is for you to now simmer down and take things in their stride and let it simmer down. But they won't. You and
So,
I know it
so,
that
so,
they.
sir, taking you back to my question, do you see an Indian a shift, a gradual shift in India's strategic response to terror?
I will tell you, Mr. Bose, it's a combination of many things. India's armed forces have undergone rapid changes. DRDO has done a wonderful job. I would like to tell your viewers that today the DRDO is producing world class radars, short range, medium range, and long range. We are exporting these radars to nearly 100 countries in the entire planet. And our DRDO produced indigenous radars are one of the best in the world. And therefore, the technology that is being introduced into the Indian Army over the last 7 years, we have tested numerable times. We have tested them on ships, on their platforms, on aircraft carriers. We have tested them on land. We have tested them with aircraft. And now we have a plethora of missiles from the short range to the medium range to the deep penetration ballistic missiles that is available to us, tried and tested, and wargamed numerous times without even having to stepping across the international border of the LOC. The kind of damage that we can do to the Pakistanis, they will be uh, absolutely be shattered. And therefore, to again answer your question, yes, that has given us the confidence. Now that we are a domestic manufacturer of immense amount of inventory of armed forces goods, which we are selling to the world, our entire channels of production line are so well greased that we are no more dependent on calling for spares from here or ammunition from there and suddenly going to Brazil for small arm ammunition or to South
I think
Africa
it's a
for
combination
other
of many
things.
factors. Over the
Yes,
last 34 years, India is one of the few economies in the world that has been growing at an average of 6% plus for 30 years. And for last 20-25 years, we have been growing at 7% plus. So we have developed that economic might, that political might, and so it is a rising power economically. And probably we are seeing, I mean, from my perspective, I see the country is now more confident in using its hard power. Am I correct
I
in
agree
saying
with
that?
you. I totally agree with you. And another factor which you must factor in, Mr. Bose, is the fact that we also considered China as our enemy. And therefore, knowing China's powers and its ability to produce high fifth generation technology in the war machine, we had to match up to them. And therefore, immense amount of attention was given to the defense ministry by this present dispensation. And we have today reached a stage where we are showing in our budgets $78 billion as our budget for the armed forces, notwithstanding the fact that many other capital, and you are an economist, you know it, that many other expenditures which fall into the defense parameters are not being shown. So we may well be investing something like $125 billion today in our defense industry, where production has been indigenized of fifth generation frigates, submarines, ships, aircrafts, and artillery guns and missiles to nearly 69%, as I know it, which has been indigenized. And therefore, we
Yeah,
are a
I
confident
fully
nation.
agree to your point. I mean, we sat on that Bofus thing for 20-25 years, and just look, we have ordered the second batch of Rafales, and these are costly planes. So quite a lot and in a short span of time, the reorganization has been happening. Sir, as a journalist, so what I see is, you see, you develop trust with your government when the government delivers. Prime Minister Modi said after the Pahalgam attack, Prime Minister Modi said that they will get a lesson that is so big, so big. I mean, exactly not in his words, but the lesson will be big enough, that so big that they cannot even apprehend it.
In fact, he says ki akalpanik, unimaginable. That is the exact words
Unimaginable.
he
That, yes,
uses.
that was the word. Now, this is exactly what happened: is an unimaginable attack on all the terror hideout headquarters, all the terror
Yes,
headquarters. So I
yes.
believe
And
more than the numbers of deaths or destruction, the impact should be more psychological, that we are not invincible anymore, isn't it?
absolutely, absolutely. And I must share this gut instinct of mine, Mr. Bose, that if Pakistan will retaliate, which I think they will, the next batch of targets, which will be military targets, which India will undertake, will cause immense damage to the deep state. And don't be surprised if it lands on core headquarters and congregation of high level meetings taking place. Now, the technology that is available to us, the world has seen, and the Pakis have understood. It is not difficult for us to, in real time, target a meeting taking place in the Prime Minister's office and bomb it. So, therefore, much has been done with collaboration with Israel and others over a period of time. And
Yes.
today, there are drones in our, which the information is not there in public domain. But let me tell you that if they find a fleeting moment of targeting this mullah chief, they might well take him out. And it is not difficult for the Indian Armed Forces to do so at this juncture. It is a nation which has come together, Mr. Bose, and I think we are confident that even if the considerable damage takes place to our civilians and to military targets over a short period of time, I think the country will take it in its stride to teach Pakistan a lesson.
So, sir, fantastic. So let us come to the conclusive side. What do you say that you are expecting, because Pakistan is left with no choice. They have terror hideouts. We don't have. So we have blown up their terror hideouts. Now they have to retaliate, and they have to, they might end up retaliating attacking the military establishments or civilians. That is the only choice that they have, probably. So in that case, India will step up the attack. How do you see it happening? I mean, will it be a short and escalation? I mean, how do you expect things to happen?
Two things, Mr. Bose. One is it is there visible on the TV screens that we have hit the targets, that many of the buildings have been reduced to rubble. Yet we do not know how many terrorists have been killed. We might make
Yes.
wild guesses.
The
We might make
early
wild
guesses we have is 70. Yes.
Yes. And these are guesses. We might keep on saying that instantly we were monitoring their mobiles and airwaves and this, that, the other. But the fact is that possibly considerable damage has not been done, even though the buildings and the areas from where these terrorist camps used to function, they have been reduced to somewhat of a rubble. Notwithstanding that, the reaction of the Pakistanis now will give us an indication how much damage we have done. If they go rogue and all of a sudden resort to real violent aggression on our military targets, it is a clear indication that we have hit them where they have hurt. And therefore, it is a question of now him responding and we have to respond. This escalatory ladder will have to be contained. How it can be contained? International pressure will start to grow. It will not be so much on India as it will be on Pakistan. I hope so. And knowing this present dispensation, they are able to thwart it. They are building up a case very nicely. Diplomatically, our foreign minister has done an excellent job of not only briefing the international forum on every forum of what we are expecting the Pakis to do and what we are thinking of doing, and our right to defend ourselves against terror has been accepted worldwide. This was a glorious opportunity for us to teach Pakistan a lesson. I hope and pray that Pakistan not only reacts but allows us the next two or three escalatory ladders to go up, so that we now look at the deep state and the armed forces, uh, crippling of the armed forces to an extent where they don't again think of doing this terrorist act. And it is not only terrorist target that we take out.
Right. Many thanks, sir. I would just ask you to give a very quick, short remark on how India's neighbors. We know recently, some of the ambassadors, they have been, the diplomatic community has been talking about the security threats from Bangladesh. But I'm just not taking any particular reference, but how should India's neighbors take this? Do they have any lesson to take from this?
Uh, First thing first about Bangladesh. You are much more experienced, having been a Bangladesh watcher, sir. As a journalist, you've been watching them for decades now. Our relationships at the moment are not good. And therefore, we have to be concerned that if we go to full scale war with Pakistan, it is not that they will do any hindrance by regular armed forces of Bangladesh, but they will definitely assist them by creating border problems in the chicken's neck and neighborhood areas where they can send across these radicalized terrorists to distract us. Therefore, action has already been taken. You will find that in the channels also, it was being discussed just the other day. Much more BSF is now being deployed in this area, and the border vigilance has now been absolutely upgraded to a level where this kind of escalatory movement by the Bangladeshis are prevented. Second, insofar as Nepal and Bhutan are concerned, Bhutan is a very close ally and friend.
They are
Nepal at
friendly
this
states.
juncture, yes, Nepal at this juncture also carries a cross because one of their Nepalese citizens have been killed in Pahalgaon, and they know that these Pakistani people use Nepal to move into India through the open borders and now have found a new way to then navigate themselves to go to J&K, where caches of arms are already available with the overground people. And that is how this kind of Pahalgaon incidents take place. So Nepal is not going to side with the Pakistanis by any chance. Insofar as the other peripheral nations is concerned, Baluchistan, Pakhtunkhwa, and Afghanistan, you as a journalist, sir, are much more aware that Pakistan is fragmenting.
It's
Moment the
burning.
entire,
It's
not only burning,
with if it starts a war with India, it is
exactly,
already
three of
fighting
the
in
towns in
Balochistan. It is
Balochistan,
already fighting in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
reports are three of the towns in Balochistan are already, they call themselves liberated. They have controlled the entire town. And now, with 47% of the landmass going away from their hands, they are in no position to move all the troops to their eastern borders. And therefore, we are not only going to escalate the situation through the Afghani Taliban and the Baluchi people, we will make Pakistan pay in every which way because of the kind of terror they have inflicted on us for the last 3 decades.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it's the right occasion to say Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, and
Thanks.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.